You didn't stumble here by mistake. You were drawn, pulled by the quiet gravity of a moment that feels like nothing and everything at once. Maybe lately it feels as if life has paused mid-breath. The momentum that used to push you forward now dissolves into a strange, almost holy stillness. You look around and everything is the same, yet you sense that something vast, something unspeakable is rearranging itself behind the curtain. This is the threshold few recognize, the space between identities, where time itself loosens its grip. Your mind calls it stagnation, but your soul knows better. It knows that the silence before the music is never empty. It is potential gathering density, preparing to burst into symphony. The universe is not withholding motion from you. It is aligning motion within you. Consider the archer, motionless before release. The draw is tension, yes, but it is also precision. The power that will send the arrow flying farther than effort alone ever could. That's where you are now, drawn back by life's unseen hand. The pause isn't punishment, it's calibration, a quantum prelude before the leap. Physicists might describe it as superposition, a state where all outcomes coexist, waiting for one act of observation to decide the path. You, my friend, are that observer. The field is listening for your coherence, beneath the surface noise of worry and impatience. Something luminous is coding a new version of you, a neural architecture that can hold more light, more clarity, more truth. So breathe, let the stillness stretch, let the silence hum around you like circuitry waiting for activation. This is not the end of motion, it is the point before ignition. You are standing at the edge of your next reality, hand on the invisible door, and if you listen closely, the quiet itself is whispering jump. The silence from before still lingers, doesn't it? That strange, full quiet like the air right before a symphony begins. You can almost feel something invisible gathering itself, as though existence is inhaling before it speaks your next name. What you're feeling isn't stagnation, it's the prelude to movement, a delicate alignment between the seen and the unseen. In quantum physics, there's a law both bewildering and beautiful: superposition. A single electron, instead of sitting neatly in one location, hovers in every possible state at once. Only when it's observed does it choose one form, one place, one moment to become. Until then, it is everywhere and nowhere potential incarnate. That's what you are living through. You stand between your old identity and the next evolution of your being, existing in a shimmering overlap of timelines. You sense the pull of two worlds, the one you've outgrown and the one waiting to receive you. Each thought, each emotion, is an act of observation deciding which version solidifies. Indecision feels heavy because it is. Each possible path has weight, each carries its own gravity. When you hesitate, you are holding universes in your hands. The mind calls it confusion, but the soul calls it sacred suspension, the holy pause in which destiny waits for coherence. Here's the paradox: this in-between state, which feels like chaos, is the most creative space of all. To the particle, being everywhere isn't disorder, it's natural. To the human, it feels unbearable. Yet beneath the discomfort lies infinite artistry. You are standing in the quantum womb, surrounded by futures that shimmer like uncollapsed stars. Neuroscience, speaking another dialect of the same truth, tells us that when the brain enters uncertainty or stillness, its plasticity increases. Old neural roots weaken, new ones sprout like green shoots after rain. So what feels like being lost is actually your nervous system preparing to build a higher architecture. Confusion is construction disguised as void. Every moment you resist this state, you delay the coherence trying to form. The universe doesn't rush, it listens. When you relax into the unknown, when you stop demanding proof, the wave of possibility starts to collapse into form. Presence, not panic. is what selects reality. Think of it this way: each potential future orbits you like a planet around its star. They all exist, but only one aligns perfectly when you direct your awareness toward it. The instant your focus steadies, reality snaps into place. The observer and the observed merge. The field translates intention into matter, and yet superposition asks for trust. You can't force the leap, you can only remain lucid in the void. Artists know this, monks know this, physicists know this: creation begins where control ends. To live as the particle does is to embrace possibility as identity, to exist in the gentle hum of both. So if you feel suspended, let that word become sacred. You are not waiting, you are vibrating between dimensions. The stillness you fear is the gestation of form. The uncertainty you fight is the mother of coherence. Stay here a little longer. Let your attention become soft, like light resting on water. Let the countless versions of your future drift closer, one heartbeat at a time, until one begins to glow brighter than the rest. That is the moment of collapse, the holy click, when potential becomes presence. And you'll realize that what you called stillness was never empty. It was the sound of reality rewriting itself around you. It was the quiet electricity of creation deciding which version of you to make real. You can feel the edge of it, can't you? The moment when stillness turns from mystery into motion, when the field begins to tremble with new instruction. What happens next is not sudden, it's surgical. The universe begins to unweave everything that cannot travel with you into the higher rhythm you've chosen. It starts quietly. You lose interest in the things that used to define you. Old habits drift from your hands like smoke. Conversations feel thinner, lighter, as though the words themselves no longer fit inside your new frequency. Relationships begin to shimmer at the edges, revealing the energetic scaffolding that once held them together. One by one, those structures loosen, dissolve, release. Your mind panics, it calls this falling apart. But what's truly happening is the opposite. Life is removing static so your signal can transmit clearly. The energetic architecture that once kept you safe is being rewritten. Imagine a spider's web spun in morning dew, glistening with old light. To climb higher, that spider must let the old web disintegrate strand by strand. That is you delicately undoing what once sustained you, not because it failed, but because it fulfilled its purpose. Every identity you've worn was a code, and codes must update. In software terms, you're not crashing, you're patching. The operating system of your consciousness is being rewritten in real time. The old files, beliefs built on fear, promises made in survival cannot run in the new frequency. So the system deletes them. Even if you try to hold on, this deletion feels like loss, yet it's divine intelligence performing maintenance. When sugar melts into water, the sweetness remains, but the form is gone. Likewise, your experiences are not being erased, they're being integrated. The substance remains, the structure changes. Quantum physics echoes this in the principle of decoherence. When two systems no longer vibrate in sync, they part ways naturally. One slows, one accelerates, one dissolves, one ascends. You can feel this inside relationships, jobs, desires, even memories. The things that can't keep up with your evolving resonance begin to drift away, not as punishment, but as proof of progress. There's a grief in it, of course. The heart aches for what it has outgrown. But grief is a sacred solvent. It clears residue so light can move through again. You might cry without knowing why. You might laugh for no reason at all. These are release valves for your nervous system, letting emotion drain from outdated circuits. If you resist this stage, the tension multiplies. The mind wants to rebuild what is fading, to patch holes in the fabric. Yet the new design cannot emerge on an old loom. To cling is to tangle, to surrender is to weave anew. So let the web unthread, let the strands of your old story fall softly to the floor. Each release is a declaration to the field, I trust the architecture of becoming. As the dismantling deepens, stillness returns, but this time it hums differently. It's not the silence of confusion, it's the quiet of readiness. You've cleared the static, and now the channel opens wider. Signals from your future self, your entangled twin in another timeline, start to bleed through. Insights, visions, déjà vu, moments of knowing that arrive before the question is even asked. And this is the bridge to what comes next: entanglement, the mysterious connection between who you've been and who you're becoming, proving that nothing in this universe is truly separate. The web doesn't end, it extends into new dimensions, invisible but intact. The dissolution was never destruction. It was preparation for communication across time itself. So breathe into the unraveling. Let it fall away without trying to repair it. The moment the last thread dissolves, the next pattern will already be waiting. What you once called emptiness is simply space being cleared for a new signal to arrive. Out of the dissolving strands, something begins to shimmer, a signal faint but unmistakable. It feels like memory, but not from the past. A recognition that moves forward instead of backward, whispering through intuition rather than thought. That, my friend, is entanglement, the mysterious bridge between the self you are and the self that is already waiting in your next reality. In the quantum world, when two particles are entangled, their states remain linked no matter how far apart they drift. Change one, and the other responds instantly, even across galaxies. Physicists call it non-locality. Mystics call it communion. Either way, it's the same truth. Separation is an illusion. You are already connected to the version of yourself who lives inside the outcome you're moving toward. That self isn't a fantasy. It's a living data stream transmitting through the field. Every spark of inspiration, every flash of déjà vu is information arriving from that future timeline. Your higher self is sending coordinates. And when you quiet the static of fear, those coordinates become clear. This is why guidance often feels like remembering rather than learning. The insights that strike out of nowhere are not new. They're recollections from the future. Your consciousness is multidirectional. It doesn't move linearly through time. It moves like light, instantaneously aware of all directions, but focused on one beam. As your old identity dissolves, this transmission strengthens. You begin to feel sudden clarity about things that once confused you. Old desires fade, replaced by a deep, calm knowing of where to place your next step. It's not logic, it's resonance. The field is tuning you, note by note, until your vibration matches that of your future self. When that happens, coherence locks in. But entanglement isn't comfortable. It stretches your perception between timelines. One moment you feel infinite, the next, unbearably human. You might wake with energy that feels too large for your body, or sadness with no apparent cause. These are fluctuations, frequency syncing between the you that is integrating and the you that already exists ahead. If you resist, the signal distorts. Doubt acts like interference. Faith amplifies transmission. The more you trust those subtle pulls, the nudge to rest, the urge to move, the whisper to forgive, the more stable the connection becomes. The quantum field doesn't shout, it speaks in resonance. You recognize truth not because it makes sense, but because it hums in your bones. Here's the wonder of it. Your future self is not a stranger. It's the distilled essence of your present choices. Every time you respond with love instead of reaction, you align closer. Every act of surrender is an upload of new data to the timeline that awaits you. The field responds by sending back updates, synchronicities, opportunities, people who mirror that new pattern. You might think of it like a cosmic conversation. You send a frequency out through intention. Your future self replies through coincidence. The dialogue is constant, though the language is subtle, a song lyric repeating in your head, a stranger saying the exact phrase you needed, the timing of light through your window when you ask for a sign. These are not random, they are encrypted messages confirming alignment. To live consciously entangled is to release the illusion of becoming. You are not traveling toward your future. You are allowing it to download through you. The path unfolds not through effort, but through permission. You are both transmitter and receiver, cause and echo, prayer and answer. So the next time you feel a shiver of knowing without reason, don't dismiss it. That's your signal crossing time. Proof that your leap has already begun. You are conversing with the inevitable. You are walking the bridge between timelines, and with every breath, the distance between them dissolves. The bridge is alive beneath your feet now, trembling with energy. After the whisper of entanglement comes the roar of emotion, the surge that sweeps through every nerve when two timelines begin to merge. It feels like chaos, but it's actually calibration. Every cell in your body is learning a new song, and the process can sound like thunder. At first, it arrives as contrast. One day you wake glowing with certainty. The next, you're gripped by doubt. Joy surges through your chest, then dissolves into grief. This back and forth isn't failure, it's frequency alignment. Your consciousness is moving between two states, your old and your new, and the friction creates feeling. The more powerful the leap ahead, the more intense the oscillation before it stabilizes. Think of a radio switching stations. As the dial turns, static shrieks, not because you're off course, but because you're in between. That noise is the sound of transformation happening in real time. Neuroscience offers a mirror for this during deep emotional shifts. The brain's neural pathways destabilize, ready to reroute themselves. Old circuits flare before they die out, lighting memories and reactions you thought you'd already buried. You are witnessing the fireworks of your own rewiring. Your mind will try to label it anxiety, fatigue, mood swings, but what's really happening is a kind of electrical storm, your nervous system downloading a higher pattern of coherence. The subconscious clings to the familiar, mistaking safety for sameness. It whispers, "Don't change too fast." Yet the soul insists, "Expand anyway." And so the internal battle begins, until the storm itself becomes a teacher. You are not the chaos. You are the calm at its center. When feelings surge beyond reason, breathe into them as if you were anchoring a ship in rough seas. Let the waves move through you without naming them. Each surge carries out residue from the old reality. Tears, laughter, rage, exhaustion. These are not breakdowns. They are the language of release. Quantumly speaking, this turbulence mirrors what physicists call decoherence. When two systems stop vibrating together, the tension forces a reset until new harmony is achieved. Your old emotional body and your new energetic frequency are undergoing that reconciliation now. The pressure is evidence of power returning to its rightful order. And beneath the storm, your brain is rebuilding itself. In moments of stillness between emotional spikes, something extraordinary happens. New neural connections form, fragile as threads of light. Each one represents a new way of interpreting reality, less fear, more freedom. Silence after tears isn't emptiness, it's integration. To navigate this, presence is your stabilizer. When the tide of feeling rises, resist the urge to analyze it. The field doesn't require diagnosis, it asks for witnessing. Be the compassionate scientist of your own chemistry. Observe without resistance, and the charge begins to neutralize. This is also the moment where self-forgiveness becomes vital. Your emotions may drag up memories you swore you'd transcended. Don't see that as regression, it's reprocessing. The energy is surfacing so it can leave your field for good. When you meet an old fear with love, you collapse that probability wave forever. So let the storm come. Let it howl through your mind until every false structure shakes loose. Behind the thunder, there's always a rhythm steady, ancient, true. That rhythm is coherence forming, the same way a heartbeat steadies after adrenaline fades. It's your system finding its new baseline of light. And then almost imperceptibly the lightning stops striking. You'll feel the first clean breath of calm that isn't empty but crystalline. That's the sign that the integration has begun, that the chaos has completed its purpose. The frequency you once reached for now hums quietly inside you. The storm was never meant to drown you. It came to remind you how vast your ocean truly is. When emotion becomes current instead of cage, coherence follows naturally, and what felt like destruction reveals itself as the birth cry of balance. Out of the storm's fading echo, a strange calm settles, a deceptive stillness that tests your understanding of peace. This is where many turn back, mistaking reflection for relapse. But this quiet phase is not the end. It's the audit before arrival. The universe begins to hold up mirrors everywhere, asking one simple question: have you truly become the new frequency you claim to be? It starts small. Old triggers return, wearing new disguises, a familiar argument, a subtle rejection, a bill you thought you'd resolved, each appearing not to punish but to measure resonance. The field is reflecting, not judging. It's showing you what still vibrates at the old rhythm. These moments are checkpoints, not setbacks, where your soul gets to demonstrate coherence under real conditions. Neuroscience parallels this elegantly. The brain prefers efficiency. It favors pathways it has walked 1,000 times. Even after transformation, those roots linger like ghost trails. The final test isn't about fighting the old impulses. It's about choosing differently when they reappear. Each new response weakens the old neural loop until the synapse that once carried pain begins to dissolve. This is the quantum principle of collapse in motion. Two versions of you exist simultaneously, the one who reacts from memory and the one who responds from wisdom. Both are real until a single choice determines which reality solidifies. Every decision becomes a particle event, a sacred click of becoming. When you respond from the higher timeline, the wave collapses into your favor. That's why the final tests feel so charged. The energy in them is condensed, electric, like a final spark before a circuit completes. You may notice life repeating old patterns with eerie precision, tempting you to believe you've regressed. But these are echoes, final holograms projected by the quantum field to confirm stability. What appears as repetition is actually verification. Imagine standing before a door that only opens to a specific vibration. You can't force it, plead with it, or outthink it. You simply match it. The test is not about performance. It's about embodiment. When you hold your new state peace amid provocation, love amid judgment, the door senses the coherence and swings wide without resistance. Spiritually, this is grace disguised as challenge. Every difficult conversation, every fleeting doubt, every delay, it's the cosmos saying, "Show me you know who you are now." And when you do, it records the signal, forever locking that frequency into your field. So if tension reappears, don't recoil. Approach it like a physicist observing an experiment's final proof. Notice the old pattern arise, feel the emotion, and choose from presence rather than reflex. Each time you do, your energetic signature strengthens. The wave narrows. Coherence stabilizes. There will be moments when the test feels cruel, When you think, "I thought I was past this." But mastery isn't the absence of reaction, it's the awareness that chooses response over repetition. You're not being sent backward, you're being calibrated for precision. Even the challenges themselves are entangled with your future self's compassion. They are her way of pulling you across the threshold, saying, "Come prove to yourself how far you've come." When you can bless the test instead of resisting it, something profound happens. The mirrors disappear. There's no more need for reflection because there's no distortion left. The field reads you as whole, coherent, complete, and in that moment quiet, almost invisible, you pass through the doorway without noticing the hinge. The test dissolves, the lesson ends, and you step into a vibration that no longer requires examination. That is the end of assessment, the beginning of embodiment. The proof that every storm, every silence, every unraveling has led you here to the point where your frequency needs no validation. You have become the evidence. The mirrors fade, and what remains is clarity pure, startling, quiet clarity. You begin to sense that the universe no longer tests you because it has already recognized your signature. The wave has narrowed. Possibilities that once danced around you like fireflies are collapsing into form. The moment of choice has arrived, though it feels less like effort and more like surrender. In the quantum world, collapse occurs when potential becomes presence, when a particle stops being maybe and decides to be here. The observer's attention determines the outcome. In your life, that observer is you. Every thought, emotion, and action directs the field toward a single result. You are the scientist and the experiment, the cause and the consequence. Up until now, you've been hovering between versions of yourself, the reactive and the responsive, the dreamer and the doer, the seeker and the seer. But the longer you sustain awareness in your higher state, the faster the probabilities converge. What once required faith begins to appear as fact. The invisible becomes inevitable. This is the quiet moment when creation solidifies. It doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It arrives like the soft click of a camera shutter, capturing eternity in one frame. You realize that manifestation isn't about forcing the field to obey. It's about aligning so completely that the field has no choice but to reflect you. Here's the paradox. The collapse isn't something you do. It's something you allow. When you stop trying to control the timing, the how, or the proof, the field responds instantly. Effort slows the process. Trust accelerates it. Because trust is coherence disguised as calm. Think of a tuning fork struck beside another. The second begins to vibrate, not through effort, but through resonance. That's what your choice does. When you choose love over fear, peace over panic, forgiveness over resistance, you set the frequency that every layer of your reality begins to imitate. That imitation is creation. Neuroscience offers a mirror for this truth. Every conscious decision fires neurons that reinforce one pathway while letting others fade. Choice is brain collapse, the moment when competing signals quiet and one message takes hold. Every time you choose alignment, you sculpt your own circuitry to match your desired timeline. Eventually, the higher choice becomes effortless, automatic, a biological echo of spiritual coherence. You'll know the collapse has occurred not because something dramatic happens, but because the drama stops mattering. Things that used to trigger you lose their charge. The world feels lighter, clearer, less crowded by noise. You begin to experience reality as if it's responding to your thoughts in real time, because it is. The most profound shift is internal, a sudden absence of striving. The energy that once rushed toward external change turns inward, stabilizing into presence. You no longer chase signs because you are one. This is the point where the field stops testing and starts collaborating. Life bends in small, elegant ways, doors open without knocking, opportunities align without effort. It feels less like magic and more like obviousness. The way gravity feels inevitable once you understand it. So let the collapse complete itself. Don't tug at the process or check for confirmation. Just breathe into the knowing that the decision has already been made in you. The universe is simply catching up to the frequency you've chosen. When you wake tomorrow and the air feels subtly different, cleaner, softer, almost like a beginning that's coherence singing through your cells, you've shifted from potential to embodiment. You are no longer imagining the higher timeline. You are living as its anchor point. And as you settle into this realization, the field hums in recognition. The particle has chosen its place in the cosmos. The observer and the observed are one. When collapse completes, it doesn't announce itself. There are no trumpets, no cosmic applause, no lightning bolts splitting the sky. One morning, you simply wake and realize that something you used to wrestle with no longer has power. The ache is gone. The noise has fallen silent. Transformation, true transformation, arrives so quietly that your mind almost misses it. The ego searches for spectacle. It expects the leap to be cinematic, a flash of light, a revelation with sound effects. But the universe moves in subtler harmonies. Evolution rarely shouts, it whispers. The seed does not explode into bloom. It opens so slowly that dawn itself must lean close to notice. In physics, when an electron jumps to a higher orbit, the change happens instantaneously. There's no visible climb, no gradual ascent, one quantum of energy, and the shift is complete. That's what this moment feels like, a gentle blink, a breath between worlds. The self that was striving dissolves, and what remains is ease. At first, it feels disorienting. You search for the thrill of breakthrough and find only calm. Your mind might whisper, "Was that it? Was that the great change I was waiting for?" But that thought itself belongs to the past, to the version of you that believed awakening had to be dramatic to be real. Look closer. The proof is in the absence of struggle. Decisions that once drained you now unfold effortlessly. The conversations that used to tighten your chest pass through without friction. You stop checking for signs because life itself becomes one continuous sign. It's not that the external world has changed overnight, it's that your inner geometry has shifted and the outer world rearranges to match. Neuroscience mirrors this with quiet elegance. When a new neural network becomes stable, the brain no longer treats the new pattern as effort. It becomes the default setting. The mind stops broadcasting "I'm becoming" and starts radiating "I am." That's why integration feels ordinary, because mastery always does. This is the paradox of awakening. It returns you to simplicity. You eat, breathe, and walk in the same world. Yet everything glows with a subtler clarity. Colors seem cleaner, conversations more honest, silence more alive. The old tension to prove, to achieve, to force fades into irrelevance. You find yourself laughing more, forgiving faster, caring without calculation. That's how the new timeline introduces itself, not with noise, but with neutrality. True coherence is calm. You can feel it in the way time itself softens around you, moments stretching like silk. The universe has stopped resisting you because you've stopped resisting it. And yes, remnants of the old world will still pass through people, habits, memories, but they arrive like echoes, not anchors. You witness them without attachment, as if observing weather moving through a sky you no longer identify with. There's no need to fight the clouds. You've remembered you're the atmosphere. The arrival is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of embodiment. Integration takes root in silence, expanding through gentle daily choices. Each act of kindness reinforces the new structure. Each breath taken with awareness strengthens the bridge between inner and outer coherence. The field no longer waits for your command. It responds automatically to your state. You've stopped creating from desire and started emanating from being. That is the true signature of quantum maturity. So if you feel an unfamiliar peace, don't question it. Don't poke at it to see if it's real. Sit inside it as if it were a temple built specifically for you. The quiet you feel is not the absence of motion, it's the hum of a universe finally moving in unison with your soul. And from that quiet, a new kind of music begins to rise, not to announce your arrival, but to accompany it. The music has changed, and as the first notes settle into your bones, the world around you begins to shift in rhythm. When coherence becomes your natural state, everything that surrounds you, people, passions, and patterns, rearranges to match the frequency you now embody. It doesn't happen with chaos. It unfolds with precision, like constellations quietly reshaping their positions while the night sky remains serene. You'll notice it first in your relationships. Conversations that once required effort begin to fade, not through conflict, but through disinterest. Some connections dissolve gently, as though they've completed their purpose. It can feel strange, bittersweet, even to watch familiar faces drift into distance. But release isn't rejection, it's resonance correcting itself. When two frequencies no longer vibrate together, they separate by law, not emotion. You are not losing people, you are recalibrating your orbit. Some souls will remain, but their roles will change. Depth replaces drama. Honesty replaces performance. Others will arrive suddenly, drawn in by the field you now emit, people whose presence feels like recognition rather than introduction. You'll meet them and think, I've known you before, and in a sense, you have. They belong to the new harmonic you've become. This reorganization extends beyond relationships. The activities, ambitions, and entertainments that once energized you may now feel hollow. You might stand in a place that once felt like home and realize it vibrates too slowly for you to stay. The old world is not punishing you by losing color. It's inviting you to paint somewhere new. In the quantum field, this rearrangement is coherence asserting itself. Systems naturally seek resonance. When your internal vibration stabilizes, everything incoherent must adapt or exit. It's not a moral judgment, it's physics. What's out of tune cannot endure near a strong, steady tone. Think of an orchestra retuning before a performance. At first, the sound is chaotic, a flurry of mismatched notes. Then one true pitch rings out, and every instrument adjusts to match. That pure tone is you now, and as you sustain it, discord resolves. This stage often brings a strange, calm loneliness. You might look around and find that the room of your life has emptied. The mind, ever dramatic, calls it abandonment. But in truth, it's spaciousness, room for the symphony that's about to begin. The emptiness is not proof of absence, it's proof of readiness. Neuroscience mirrors this adjustment, too. When the brain adopts new pathways, it prunes unused connections, a process called synaptic pruning. The same thing happens spiritually. Old attachments dissolve because they're no longer efficient carriers of energy. What remains are the neural, emotional, and relational links that support your expanded consciousness. So rather than mourning what fades, bless it. Every departure signals refinement. Each ending is a note returning to silence so that harmony can continue. You're not being punished for outgrowing people or dreams. You're fulfilling the promise of evolution. Eventually, the new coherence manifests externally, The right opportunities appear with uncanny timing. Environments that nourish you unfold almost effortlessly. The pattern of your days begins to feel choreographed, but not by control, by compatibility. Life becomes a dance partner that finally knows your rhythm. And yet, humility is vital here. The rearrangement isn't about superiority, it's about synchronization. Everyone moves according to their own frequency's tempo. Your task is not to judge the slower songs, but to keep playing yours with integrity. In time, you'll realize that what left never truly vanished. It simply moved to a parallel rhythm within the same grand symphony. The universe wastes nothing. It only reassigns roles. When you can see this, when you can release without resentment and welcome without clinging, you've mastered one of the quietest arts of the awakened life, letting reality recompose itself without losing your melody. And as this new harmony stabilizes, something deeper begins, the embodiment of that music, where living and creating become one seamless motion. The orchestra has tuned, and now the music is you. The silence that once held you in suspense has transformed into rhythm, and every motion you make becomes part of the song. This is embodiment, the moment when philosophy becomes physiology, when belief fuses with behavior, and your being stops reaching for the future because it realizes it has already arrived. You no longer talk about alignment. You are alignment. The thoughts that used to spiral now orbit with purpose. You wake in the morning without urgency, yet somehow accomplish more than you ever did through effort. What changed isn't the world, it's your participation in it. The field no longer tests your vibration, it mirrors it instantly. A feedback loop of coherence. In the language of neuroscience, you have achieved neural integration. The circuits of intention, emotion, and action now fire as one, creating a state of embodied flow. In quantum terms, coherence has become stable. The observer and the observed no longer alternate roles. There's only awareness expressing itself as life. This is where the journey inward becomes the journey outward. Every breath is both prayer and response. Every gesture, no matter how small, transmits information into the field. The way you stir your coffee, the words you choose, the pace of your steps, all of it broadcasts frequency. And reality, obedient as always, arranges itself accordingly. But embodiment is not a pedestal, it's a practice. The ego will try to reclaim the stage, whispering that stillness means you're missing something, that peace must be earned again. When that voice arises, you meet it with gentleness. You remind it that the leap is no longer ahead, it's beneath your feet. Living as your higher self means bringing transcendence into the mundane, paying bills with gratitude, listening without preparing a reply, making art not to prove but to participate. Spiritual maturity is not about escaping the human, it's about sanctifying it. The divine does not demand perfection, it demands presence. The body itself begins to feel like a temple of light. Movements become slower, more deliberate. Food tastes richer, not because it changed, but because attention has become sacred. The present moment, once a concept, now feels like home. You might notice how manifestation becomes subtle now. It's no longer about summoning outcomes, but allowing them. You don't visualize what you want, you embody the state of already having it. And the quantum field, loyal to resonance, fills in the details. This is creation without striving. The effortless magnetism of coherence sustained. Relationships evolve again, but now from abundance. You no longer seek validation, you offer reflection. You draw people not to heal wounds, but to share expansion. Every connection becomes a collaboration in consciousness, not a transaction of need. And when challenges arise, and they will, you meet them with curiosity rather than fear. You understand that every fluctuation is fine-tuning. every delay a deeper invitation to trust. The field isn't punishing you, it's polishing you, making sure your frequency can carry even more light without distortion. In this space, gratitude becomes reflex. You stop searching for signs because existence itself is the sign. Every coincidence, every breath, every quiet victory feels like proof that the cosmos and your consciousness are finally speaking the same language. This is the real quantum jump, not teleportation into a new world, but transformation into the version of you that no longer leaves the present. The leap was never distance, it was density, the condensation of potential into presence. And as you stand in that realization, you feel it, the hum of completion, not as an ending, but as a new baseline, a tone that will carry you into whatever higher octave waits beyond this one. The field quiets, the music steadies. You are the melody now played by the cosmos, sustained by your own coherence, endlessly becoming and endlessly whole. The melody fades, but not into silence, into spaciousness, the kind that holds everything without needing to name it. You can feel it now, the hum beneath perception, the steady pulse that was there all along. What began as confusion, what felt like disconnection, has revealed itself as coherence in its purest form. This is the still point, the space between inhale and exhale, between thought and realization, where creation both begins and ends. You've journeyed through unraveling and rebuilding, through lightning and quiet dawns, and discovered that the field was never testing you. It was teaching you to remember your own design. You stand now inside a softer kind of power, the kind that doesn't announce itself, but emanates. You no longer chase the leap because you've learned that every moment is a leap. You no longer wait for alignment because you are alignment. Reality will keep shifting, as it always does. The difference now is that you no longer sway with it. You are the axis, the observer who has merged with the observed, the consciousness through which the quantum field learns to sing. So rest here for a breath. Let gratitude rise through you like dawn through glass. You've done more than transform. You've stabilized transformation itself. And from this stillness, your next evolution will begin naturally, without strain, without seeking. No need to demand signs. No need to hurry the unfolding. Just keep breathing the truth of what you've become, a living field of coherence, an ongoing act of becoming, a symphony of quiet miracles. Because in the end, the leap was never about escape. It was always about returning to the point before fear, before striving, before separation, returning to the place where you and creation were never apart. Breathe, embody, live the quiet miracle. You've already arrived.